Good evening and welcome to the June 12, 2019 meeting of the Milton Select Board. Before we begin, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is item 3. Oh, my. Item 3, citizen speak. Do we have anyone here for citizen speak? Seeing none, going once, going twice.
Moving right along.
All right. Item 4, this is an approval for a citation for Milton resident Tarmo Holma to honor his 50 years as a dedicated member of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary and his military service during World War II. And I believe we have two of his commanders, Commander Bob Brack and Commander Tom Fair, here to give us a little background on Tarmo Holma. Do you want to come up to the table, Commander Brack, Commander Fair, and sorry. Oh no, it's okay. Oh no, I have it. Oh, to sign.
Okay, I think first we'd like to thank you for the honor. We'll tell you a little bit about Tarmo. He's been with the Coast Guard Auxiliary for 50 years as of June 6th. He's also a World War II Holocaust. He was one of the people first into the concentration camps. It's quite a story. But we do want to thank you for this honor, and Bob will let you know a little bit about Tarmo.
Well, thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the Chairman, Mr. Zulus, and his Board of Selectmen for having us down here. I'm an immediate past Fatola commander. Tom is the commander now. As you know, Mr. Homer is a 50-year veteran of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. We want to celebrate that on June 26th, up and coming. And Mr. Hammer, Toma Hammer, is also a Holocaust hero in your midst. I will use those terms. He's a resident of Harold Street, 41 Harold Street. He's been in the town for 30, 40 years. Originally grew up in Quincy, and when World War II occurred, he got the call. I do have a little story that there's a fellow named Michael Hirsch who did an interview with Tarmo back in 2008, and it was for a Holocaust remembrance group, so that story would not be forgotten, because he's one of the older members now. He's 97 years today. So
Today?
I'd like
Is
to
this
just
his
share that
birthday?
with you very quick,
October.
Oh,
as quickly as I
October,
could. Again, this
As we sit
was
here,
an
he's
interview.
97 years old.
This is an interview
Or young.
from Michael Hirsch asking Mr. Tarmo Holma questions over the phone. And he says, well, were you drafted or did you enlist? And Tarmo's response was, I was drafted, yeah, but I had more or less volunteer because I had fallen down and hurt my knee so bad it looked like a soccer ball. They were giving me deferments, and finally I was the only one left in my neighborhood, so I had to convince them to let me go into the Army, because that was the thing to do in those days. And then, again, we jumped to 1943. They finally let me go in the last days of February, and I was officially in. Let's see, it was March 3rd. I think it was my official. That was my official in the Army. And they sent me from Fort Devens to Camp Hood and so forth and so on. And finally, they sent him to California, where he is. I became a citizen through the Army, and then D-Day. A funny thing happened is, prior to his heritage is he's Finnish, and so he wasn't, he didn't have papers. He says, as he was, I did my basic training quite a few months with this outfit, the particular outfit he was with, and then they were getting shipped to England many months before D-Day had happened. But the lieutenant looked at my papers, and I was going up the gangplank in New York. I saw that I was still a citizen of Finland, and Finland was allied with Germany against Russia. So I wasn't allowed to go to Europe to fight against my own people, supposedly. So they sent me to California to join some outfit to go to Japan, which would have been all right for anybody. But then he goes on, he says, but while I was in California, I became a citizen through the Army, and then D-Day had happened, and they put him with the 11th Armored Division, to fill up that division. By trade, he was a mechanic, so they put him with a tank group. And he says, I liked it personally because I had the most space in the tank, on the Sherman tanks. My position was called the loader for the big gun and the anti-aircraft operator for the 50 caliber machine gun mounted on the top of the tank. And also, he was radio operator. So he says, I had a lot of duties, but I liked it because I had the most space to lay down inside the tank. And of course, I was on top of the ammunition, but then he goes on to say, but that was all right. So finally, he says, and I'm jumping ahead, but he says, we landed in Cherbourg, France in December 16, and he goes on to say that was where the Battle of the Bulge was. And, you know, all of his friends and people were excited because they were part of the landing. He says, we were supposed to go to southern France to take care of some German units that had been bypassed, but then they told us as we landed, go as fast as you can straight through to Belgium. The Germans were attacking, we had very few soldiers there, but we're the only large unit available. So that was the story up to that point. And then it goes on to say his outfit went on to go to the outskirts of Bastogne, and we all know about the 101st Airborne that was surrounded by the Germans. And he says, I used some of the foxholes to sleep in at night that the 101st Airborne had used because the ground was frozen solid. You couldn't dig a new foxhole. So I sat in some of those foxholes at night, and the tough was going there. But I don't know all the details on that. He says there was a lot going on. But then he goes on and says, and I want to just make this quick. He says, they gave me a good position in the tank group, and they told me I wouldn't last there 2 weeks because I insisted on sitting on top of the tank. He was up in the turret area, and that's those sniper areas. He says, he goes on to say, and I felt comfortable with my 50 caliber machine gun in front of me, and I felt like a young kid. He says, you know, you think you're invincible. I felt I could protect myself with the 50 caliber before anybody else could shoot me. So let's see. I don't know where I left off. And he's again talking. And he's still an older fellow. This interview was done when he was 84 years old. And then he goes on to say, and this is the meat of the story. He says, my tank had pulled over to the side momentarily, and I always had binoculars. And as I looked around, I was sitting on top to see what was going on. And many miles away, I could see this activity on the road. And the road was filled with people. And I assumed they were soldiers. I saw it, but it must have been 10 miles away, so I could just see the movement. And I said to my commanding officer, the whole German army has to be out there waiting for us. I see movement. He said, no, we're arriving at one of the concentration camps. And my understanding today is it was over, just informationally speaking, a lot of people don't know, there was at least 1,000 of these concentration camps. And he was involved with the removal and the salvation of 2 of those camps. And he goes on to say, we were in a combat mission. We were still chasing that part of the German army, so we didn't go inside the camp. He said, we just arrived at the death march. All of these people were on a death march coming out of the camp, and the Germans didn't realize that the Americans would get there that quickly, and they were going to put them into a position where they would shoot them into a hole and cover it up, and then they would flee. That didn't happen. The tank corps came upon them, saw them, and the Germans fled, and the Americans stayed and tried to support the survivors. He goes on to say, he says, did you see any German soldiers there, the SS? And Tomo says, I didn't see them. They had run away, and the prisoners had been able to kill a few of them. But even then, a lot of the prisoners, they were so excited, they appeared to be dying as they ran out to greet us. They came out. And then he goes on to say, the guy asked him, what do you mean by that? He says, well, I saw them fall down and not. I assumed that they were dying because they were just walking skeletons. And they looked like skeletons with a little skin on them. So it bothered me to this day. And he says, I'm surprised I can talk this much about it. Usually I start crying, and I can't talk anymore. So they were told, because the prisoners were in such bad shape, they were anxious to come out and greet us. And then we were going to give them our rations. The Americans were going to give rations, especially the K rations, but because they were very good. And he says he was a radio operator, so he got the message right away. Don't feed the prisoners because they can't stand that kind of food that they have. So what they did then at that point was they were told the people coming behind them would take care of them, and they were told to keep moving. And they spent a day trying to move through the 22,000 odd people that had filled the roadway and the areas beside it. And obviously they couldn't run them over, and they couldn't really move forward. And that was their orders, to move forward and chase the Germans. The salvation and help the medical people coming behind them would have taken care of the troops. So he goes on to talk about his division and so forth, but this kind of thing has stayed with him his whole life. And there is a good YouTube minute and 10-second video where he sort of condenses this whole story into a few moments. And if you ever get a chance to see it, it's astounding. But that's my story, and I'm glad I could represent Mr. Tom Homer from Milton.
Well, it's
And again, he's a Holocaust hero in our midst, and we hope to celebrate him on June 26th.
Yeah, it's certainly our honor and privilege to do that, and just so the audience at home knows, that Mr. Tarmo is not here because it's a surprise, and he's not going to be tuning in, as I understand it, and so, but it's truly our honor and privilege to recognize his heroism and his 50 years as a boat crew patrol member for the Coast Guard. Any comments or questions by the members?
No, he's in
Mr.
Patton's
Wells?
army. He was in General Patton's army?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he was in the Battle of the Bulge,
yeah.
and, at that time, no one knew of the, quote, Battle of the Bulge. It wasn't, as famous as it is now.
Right.
But it was a turning point in the war, and he was a great part of
Yeah,
it.
and he's a very humble person, even though, the people come to Tomo because, there is that fear. People can never forget how horrible things were. So that's, kind of how they keep it going. And so he gets called for that duty once in a while. But he's actually a very humble, great guy, yeah.
As Tom Brokaw would say, who wrote the book, The Greatest Generation, he clearly falls into it. Although there are very few of them left, as we just saw so clearly depicted in the 75th anniversary of Normandy invasion last week.
Yeah, I think it's a timely thing where the town of Milton celebrates their hero. And
So
we're very grateful.
So the celebration is on the 26th. We have a meeting on the 26th, but I think it starts at 6, is that right? On
Well,
the 26th?
Our celebration would be about 6:30 or so.
6:30, so it may be hard for us, we
We'll
may
hope
try.
to have some light
Yeah.
refreshments prior to that, and then
Okay.
we start our meeting about 7. Sometimes it goes a little longer.
All right,
but,
well, maybe we can make it after.
it'd be a
Maybe we
condensed
can-
meeting,
Well,
so,
okay.
yeah, it'd be wonderful.
I mean,
You're all invited, please, join us.
Just having this
Yeah.
is tremendous.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve and sign a citation to honor Milton resident Tamo Homer on his 50 years as a dedicated member of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. And on top of that, his exemplary service to the United States Army during World War II.
Well,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's, I mean, I think that's,
Thank you for coming in. Don't forget that.
no, I will.
so we have the, I think we
I
have the
have it right here.
citation.
I have the citation.
So,
Thank you for having us.
please,
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Bob.
thank you, Commanders.
For your service.
Thank you. All right. One of the best parts of the job, right? Moving on to item 5. This is a citation for Janet Sheehan's retirement. Would anyone like to speak?
So I'll make a motion to approve and sign a citation for our good friend, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Human Resources, Janet Sheehan, on her retirement this year from the Milton Public Schools.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
She's going to have some great times on her new boat.
Yeah, I will just say, I mean, Janet Sheehan's been a fixture in the Milton Public Schools over the last 25 years. She was an outstanding principal at Collycott. She's been an outstanding educator and administrator. Over the last, I think, 4 years, she's been the assistant superintendent for curriculum and human resources, and what an asset she's been to the Milton Public Schools. And she will be missed, but fortunately, the Milton Public Schools has a very strong bench, and we'll move forward. But Janet has made a huge contribution and a huge mark on the Milton Public Schools. So
She's a great lady, and you're correct, she will be absolutely missed, but well done for her. Good for her.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item 6, approval Pride Month proclamation. If you'll indulge me, I'll set just brief context for this proclamation. It was a little more than 2 years ago that Governor Baker, supported by the legislature of the Drayton General Court, declared June as Pride Month, celebrating the LGBTQ community. At that time, Governor Baker stated that Massachusetts is proud to be a welcoming state and a champion for supporting equal rights. Over the last couple of years, several communities have followed suit. And it seems to me that Milton is likewise a friendly and welcoming community that recognizes the importance of equality and freedom and preventing discrimination and mistreatment based on any attribute. This month marks the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, which many consider to be the catalyst for the gay rights movement in this country and around the world. And so it seems to me that there's no better time for Milton to join along in proclaiming, recognizing that June is Pride Month for the LGBT community in the Commonwealth. So that's kind of the context. So do I have a motion or
So I'll make a
comments?
motion to approve and sign a proclamation for Pride Month for June 2019 for the town of Milton.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item 7, confirming future meeting dates and a tentative retreat for Saturday, June 22nd, 2019. Our next scheduled meeting is June 26th, 2019, the night of Tarmo Holma's celebration, unfortunately for us. And we have a tentatively scheduled retreat, although I think it's a little less than tentative at this point, for June 22nd. Is everybody on board for those dates?
Did we sort out the time? There, is it 9 to 11 or 9 to 5?
Well, I guess the question is, can we get into the building without costing any money earlier than 9? Because we have some hard stops at around 11. So I think worst case will be 9 to 11. Best case will be 8 or 8:30 to 11. Once we find out if it'll cost any money to open up the library, an hour early. So I guess it depends on if we can get the keys and get in there and open the doors. So. And then in terms of July, do we want to continue on with the second and fourth Wednesday in July? Does that work for everyone?
So it's the 10th and the 24th.
The seventh, the second, well, it's 5 Wednesdays. 5 Wednesdays in July.
Maybe we'll throw in an extra meeting.
Oh, please, it's July.
We have Mass DOT on the 23rd from 7 to 9, just to remind us.
Okay.
Let me just look.
I thought we were on an abbreviated summer schedule, July and August.
We do?
One meeting a month?
You can propose that, Tony. We can if we can do it. I hesitate. Can we do this? Can we at least lock in the dates, and then if we decide on the 10th, we don't need the 24th? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
we could definitely lock in the next two.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's a smart move.
Okay. Any issues, problems, concerns?
I'm looking right
Sound-
now.
Oh, sorry.
It's the first one? The 10th?
10th.
I'm gone. But that's okay. We knew I was going to be in Idaho at some point, so I'm gone They just got it's from the 7th to the 14th. So have it, listen, I don't need to be here. It's more important to move it. I mean, to have it.
Okay. Okay. So, the
What
oth-
did I do? Okay? Just so you know, I mean, just.
No, I'm trying to think of the
We did
alternative.
the same thing last year.
Yeah,
I'm gone
okay,
that week every
okay,
year, so.
Okay. I mean, the alternative is to try to do it on, maybe on the 15th, what would be the Wednesday? It'd be the 17th. 17th?
Correct.
I'll do
Yeah.
whatever's easier, but
Yeah.
don't, just for me, just.
Um,
And Tony may be right. Maybe we get away with one meeting in
Yeah,
July.
that's
I don't
right.
know.
Okay.
Well, I say it in half jest, but I'm also very serious because the,
Yep.
the town business sort of drops off a little
Yep,
bit in these
sure.
months. And so,
You think?
given that much of the town business is in the very capable hands of our town administrator and his executive secretary, we might be able to squeeze everything into one meeting.
Okay.
We'll take it as it comes, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
See how it
Is
unfolds
there,
over the
is
next
there,
couple weeks.
is there any appetite for kicking the 10th meeting to the 17th, so Richard can make it, and then we'd see if we could be the 24th? Is the 17th the DOT? Not.
23rd.
23rd. So do we want to try the 17th?
It's fine with me.
If it's fine with everyone else, that's fine with me.
Okay.
So what, the 26th and then the 17th?
We do the 26th and the 17th, and then if we need the 24th, we'd do it.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Is that good?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, great.
All right.
All right. All right, so that's, is that okay?
So were you doing the 17th?
Yep.
If we need the 24th, we would do that?
Yes. All right. Great. All right. Item 8, conference
Deferred.
with Boston Harbor Regional Seagate, Bill Golden.
That is being deferred, Mr. Chair.
Deferred. That's good news. The more deferrals we get tonight, maybe the better. All right, item 9, discussion and approval of the harbor master. Is this Mr. Wells?
Do you want to talk first?
Ms.
Yeah, after you.
Dennehy,
Yeah, you go first.
Ms. Conlon?
Yeah, so, good.
So, as you know, we're going to be, we have a working group to be working on developing a new RFP for the Milton Landing. This is an offshoot of the work from the MPIC. One of the things that clearly has come up is that we need to take a handle on managing the day-to-day of this. It's clearly evolving and changing. We've had a harbor master that was appointed in 2013, who's a member of the Yacht Club, a fine man. I've known him my whole life, but we're at the point now where we need to take control of this. In talking with Mr. Dennehy, probably the smartest thing to do is to make a stipended town employee similar to an arrangement. The statutory, much of the statutory authority comes from 4198, 4196, which is police authority, but the knowledge needs to be someone who's actually a certified captain, understanding the waters, which we fortunately have someone in town who is that. And the arrangement that Michael would be putting together for a stipend employee would be similar to what the schools have with the attendance offices. So you have 2 town employees who work full-time for the police department, but they work part-time for the school department. So he would come from the police department, but he would answer to Michael for the purposes of our needs in the landing. It's just as the attendance officers answer to the superintendent and the school committee. So we do have a candidate who would be an excellent candidate, who has an excellent knowledge of the river, who's willing to do it. I think you spoke with him today.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Lieutenant Billy West today. He's dying to jump on board. Fully appreciates the work that's been done by Mr. Doyle previously. There was nothing broken down there. There's by no means do we want to purvey the fact that it's broken down there. It's just that I think there's been some situations down there where there's multi-jurisdictions, and we don't know who's supposed to clean the wall, and we don't know who's supposed to fix the wall, and there's other subjects there. So I think it's as the former chair described, former police chief who knows all this stuff. It's time that the town have a direct contact to that. Mr. West was open, very open to this today in my discussion with him, and his knowledge of boating and the area and the
So he's
statutory
yeah, he-
regulations involved with it.
He's got a relationship already with Crew. He has a relationship with Neponset Watershed, NEPA. Is it, am I right, Kate? Is it NEPA? The Neponset River cleanup? I think it's
Yeah.
NEPA.
NEPA, yeah.
He's worked on some of their cleanups. He has a very good working knowledge of the river, and on top of being a policeman, which meets the statutory requirement, he's a certified captain in the Commonwealth, which really is more than we need, but to his credit, definitely benefits us. He has already a working relationship with Boston and the city of Quincy and some of these other partners, and I think, actually, one of the emails I got from one of the people from 88 Wharf, after we talked about this at the subcommittee meeting, likes the idea that we're going in this direction, so I think it helps all of us moving this forward, having our own point person there.
Paige Eppolito, Assistant Town Administrator, HR Director, has polled neighboring communities that have a harbor and have a harbor master. This is the predominance of the way it works. It's a town employee who is stipended for that work. So it seems to fit a lot of the harboring towns.
Yeah, for a town our size, we're not a Quincy or a Boston that needs a full, but for a stipend, similar to what Braintree has, a very similar approach. Weymouth, it's become over full-time, but it's its own department who answers to the mayor. I think this will work for us. This would be a very good first step for help, being some boots on the ground for us to help move these things, especially some of Mr. Clark's work, getting the Chapter 91 stuff, all of that. Just Jim McGough, excise taxes, knowing what's in the water, and I think it will help us all, because there's a lot down there we don't know about it. And I'll be honest with you, I've gone down there more now in the past 2 months. It's amazing how many people use that, especially kayaks, canoes, people use it. It's a lot every day.
Comments by other members?
So is the proposal
Ms.
to
Conlon.
appoint Lieutenant West as the harbor master?
Yes.
What's the stipend amount?
Michael can work that out.
We're
with him.
working that out.
We can
It's
work
anywhere
that
from
out.
$5,000 to $10,000 a year, what we're seeing. And I think the idea is, and the working group has been talking about it, is there's some revenue that comes into the waterfront that may not be staying in the waterfront, and the idea is possibly to take that money and just revolve it back to the waterfront through the stipend.
Ms.
And-
Collins? Oh,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
I-
what were you going to say?
sir.
I think
You might answer me.
some of the people, both the yacht club and the 80 Wharf people kind of like that idea, some money going in, and everyone's looking at it, but no one's really taking it by the bull by the horn, saying, okay, we're going to do this. So I think this is a good thing for us to do.
Ms. Collins?
So what are the next steps to?
I think to start them, it's almost July. I
Right.
don't want to wait much longer. I think we need to start sooner versus later and get them going there, because we're trying to move some of this stuff forward. We are going to have to sign an easement or not sign an easement shortly. We are working on developing an RFP. Some of the stuff in the that was in the old RFP should really kind of transfer onto him, things that didn't get done. And I'd say the thing we do now is stop by appointing him tonight, let Michael work out the details of it, and come back to us with it, do it.
I guess
Ms. Conlon?
just procedurally, so when we, I'm
Go ahead,
happy with
Allison.
Lieutenant West being the new harbor master. If this is going to be a position reporting to the town administrator is probably the correct appointing authority here rather than the board. Now, the board in the past
Oh, I
has
get you.
been,
Okay,
because
yeah,
the
I get-
board at the time had the day-to-day
a good
responsibility.
point.
So, and the guidelines that are in the package are the ones we approved in 2013. This was shortly after I joined the board. Richard, you were the
Right,
police chief. We had a lot of meetings about this, and it does make the board the appointing authority, but the board was everybody's appointing authority at the time. So, I guess we could consider revising the guidelines, or we could go ahead and appoint the harbor master, since that's the motion that's been prepared, or if there's a need to expedite this, and then we could have the town administrator in the future be the one to appoint it, or we could just delegate this to the town administrator. There's probably a few ways we can handle this procedurally.
Yeah.
And it sounds like we want to get somebody in place sooner rather than later, rather than having a delay.
I'm fine either way.
Yeah, so
Either
I-
way, either delegate it to him
Yeah,
or
so-
let him refine the
Yeah.
workings of, because even though the stuff I wrote back when I was chief, I think there's so much that I've seen now from like the RFP, there's so many things in there that we want to do. I'd be comfortable with delegating it to you and let you work it out.
So I think that's probably procedurally the better thing to do, because we don't want to go through
Yeah.
revising the guidelines on the fly. And the guidelines say what the guidelines say now. But Katie, I think it's a good middle ground to say the board will delegate it to Mr. Dennehy, and that will be the procedure. And then we can, after the fact, we can revise the guidelines, Ms. Collins.
Do you want that in a
Collins.
motion?
Well, let's, Ms.
No,
Collins.
no, that's fine. That's where I was sort of heading, so thank you. That you answered my question.
And I think we still want the harbor master to come in,
Yeah, I think-
like any
oh,
other
I just
department head,
don't know. I
and give the
agree.
board updates. But
Right.
but if we want the town administrator to be the appointing authority, and I think we do. It's-
I do too, yeah,
But-
so I
But I'm,
agree.
but
I
I'm
didn't
happy
even
with
think
your,
of that.
with your choice, Richard, your proposal in terms of Lieutenant West. I'm just a matter of who appoints him.
So I'll just, in the form was just I'll make a motion to task the town administrator with appointing I won't even say the name, to appointing the harbor master and coming forward to us with moving this forward. Work out the details, you know. Is that all right?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. We might just want to say, just a friendly amendment, just to say delegate it. We'll delegate it to them.
Okay,
Yeah,
delegate,
so,
friendly amendment, I'll go along with that.
All right, the motion's been made. We have
Second.
a second. Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Item 10, a conference, Animal Shelter Advisory Committee with Alyssa Cook and the town planner. Is this ready to go? I'm wondering, this may take a little longer than the town treasurer. Do we want to take the town treasurer out of order? Do you mind, Bill? Do you mind, Bill, if we take it out of order? Bill Clark, do you mind if we take it out of order?
You're gonna have 4 and 30.
All right.
All right, and Mr. Chair, I'll be recused from this item,
Okay.
because this relates to bonding.
Let's let the minutes reflect that Ms. Conlon's leaving the room for the purposes of recusal. So we are moving to item 11. Item 11, the quarterly, are we going to do the quarterly report first, Jim?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
quarterly report.
Okay.
Do not want to bore you with numbers.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
There's nothing boring about numbers. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Jim.
All right, for the quarterly report, I just did year over year from June 12th to June 12th. So far this year, we're up $2,997,042 in collections on the real estate. We're at 97.8% collections for 2019. Usually we finish out the year about 99%. Excise tax, the third commitment came in earlier this year, so we're ahead this year, year over year, to the tune of $190,383. General interest funds, we got a few banks came in, they were looking for our money to lend out to mortgage companies, to lend out for mortgages. So we got a rate with a couple banks, and one of them indexes it off the Fed. So every time they jump a quarter point, I'm getting a quarter of a point. So we're doing really well this year in the general interest fund. And we're up $240,799.68 over last year. Tax title, we're up $154,585 from same time last year. I have 2 houses going through land court right now that are in the process of being foreclosed upon. One of the people is trying to work out either selling a lot, getting a reverse mortgage. She has an attorney involved, so it's actually going well. The other person, haven't heard from them, so they'll probably go to foreclosure. As far as the investments, we're up 2.4% on investments. So far this year, the investment returns have been $240,501, and that's on all the trust funds. That's capital stabilization, Copeland Fund, all the scholarship funds. So we're conservative. It's been a crazy year up and down, so we like to keep it conservative. We're doing a lot of T-bills now, a lot of treasuries, CDs. We're light on stocks right now because the market's so great, so crazy. So that is the quarterly report.
Let me just stop you for a sec, Jim. Any questions or comments from the members?
I had one question for you,
Yes.
Mr.
Tony?
Treasurer. So the general fund interest,
Yeah.
that figure jumped from
Yeah.
you. So can you help me understand that a little bit? I mean, it jumped in our favor, it's great, I just didn't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, this year, with the Federal Reserve jumping into over the last couple of years, we've latched on to a couple banks, and one bank gave us a great rate. The other bank came in and they wanted our money also, so they actually increased theirs. So we played one bank off against another. We got 2 banks right now giving us great rates. I'm putting all the money in those accounts.
Great.
So we're doing really well with the general interest.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that's gonna roll to free cash, so that's a good thing.
Any other comments, questions on the quarterly report? All right. Jim, if it's all right, we'll move on to item 12, which is is this where you want to go, the short-term borrowing next? Thanks, Jim.
Oh, I have it. Got it, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, we held a bond auction yesterday,
Right, I saw
and
that.
we're borrowing $810,000. It's all for stormwater sewer drainage. And it's 3 issues that rolled into one. So we're borrowing $810,000. We had 3 bids on the debt. We had Unibank came in at 2.3, Century came in at 2.2, and Newbury 5 Savings Bank came in at 1.98. So we accepted the Newbury savings. Our financial advisor was shocked that we got a rate that good.
The
She said
1.98%.
She hasn't seen anything below 2, so.
Who Lisa was?
Breanne.
Oh, Breanne,
Breanne
okay.
Celesta. Yeah, so she was very happy that we came in at that. She was surprised that we beat their bank by that much.
Did she have thoughts on how that happened?
No, she said it was just a good time. What she did too is, we were gonna go to auction on Monday, but there was a glut of people going to auction on Monday, so she held us off till Tuesday, so we were standing alone. So the people that lost on Monday came back and bid on our debt. So it worked out well for us.
How many years is that for, Jim? The 810? How many years is that bond for?
Well, it's a 14-month bond. And what the Sun usually does is every 2 years.
All right,
they
okay,
bond.
I get it.
So this is a State House note, so there's really no cost to it.
All right, comments, questions, or a motion?
So I will make a motion, vote to award the $810,000 Town of Milton, Massachusetts bond anticipation notes dated June 26, 2019, and maturing, I hadn't saw this, that's why I asked the question, August 3rd, 2020, to Newburyport 5 Cent Savings Bank at a net interest cost of 1.98%, and the details are attached to us in our handouts.
Seconded.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Can I just thank the
Oh,
treasurer?
please.
That This was a
Yes, thank you.
fast-moving current. We put a quick meeting together. He put these numbers together, met with the department heads that needed to do some short-term borrowing, so kudos to the treasurer.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
This is
Thank you,
great.
Jim.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Got some paperwork to sign.
Okay.
It's timely that we get this out tomorrow, right, Jim?
Yeah, well, what's gonna happen, the town clerk is at a conference. So we're gonna have the assistant town clerk stamp it tomorrow. The town clerk's gonna come in Friday afternoon. She's gonna sign it and she'll put it in.
We'll FedEx it, okay.
Jim, do you want to walk out with this? Do you want us to sign it so you can walk out with
I
it?
can walk out with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, we can get it out tomorrow.
So item 13 is transfer funds request. Do you want to talk about this, Jim? as
Yeah,
well?
on the transfer fund request, we had a new hire the end of fiscal last year, and she came in at a higher rate than the person that was there. My full-timer went down to part-time, and she also came in at a higher rate, so we had to move some money around to cover those salaries.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve and forward to the warrant committee for the following year-end transfer request, a request from the treasurer in the amount of $5,200 from the expense line to the salary and wages line to cover the FY19 wage adjustment differential for salary change and reclassification.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Jim, go
All
enjoy,
right.
go enjoy
Thank you.
the,
Make sure they sign it.
go enjoy the game.
Enjoy the game. See you,
If
Jim.
you could ask Katie to come back in the room when you're on your way out, Jim?
See, now that I've stood over here, I'm moving your motions quick.
That's it? That's it?
Motions quick, not
That's what
just
we want. That's what we want.
14, oh, yeah, go ahead.
We're going to go back to...
We're gonna go back to Bill?
We're going to go back to item 10, the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee. Mr. Clark, and we've allotted 10 minutes for this bill, but don't feel compelled to fill it. If you
No.
can do it sooner, that'd be great, too.
I wrote big and I can talk quick.
All right.
And Alyssa's not here, she's away on business, so it makes me even quicker. First time I came before this board to discuss the animal shelter was back in 2008. In February 2015, the Selectmen and the Animal League signed an MOU to develop a new structure on a new location, a site off the town's landfill access road. The site's more of a driveway, but we'll get to that. May 12, 2015 was the first meeting of the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee appointed by the Selectmen. Between 2015 and 2016, the Animal Shelter Committee developed a request for qualifications for architectural services. This was all started with Tim Zerwinski, who was my assistant at that time. The RFQ responses were due back in September 2016. They were followed by an extensive interview process by the committee. In May 2016, a funding agreement was signed by the Board of Selectmen and the Milton Animal League. July 2016, the Animal League and the town went into, had geo-borings done on the site that was selected by the selectmen. June 2016, I applied for with the Conservation Commission for a request for determination of applicability, looking to pinpoint the location of the site's wetlands that would affect the building location. April 2017, the architect's contract was signed by the BOS. In May 2017, the Animal Shelter Committee and the architect met to develop a site program, what the building would need to contain, what it would need to look like design-wise, and determine the ultimate shape and size. In June of 2017, the process was taken over by Lauren. In October 2017, the first set of architectural drawings were presented to the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee, and December 2017, I took over the process. Well, Lauren had too many night meetings. February 2018, the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee hired the site's project engineer. July of 2018, I applied with the Conservation Commission for a notice of intent, and in August of 18, the Conservation Commission issued an order of conditions for the proposed building on the particular site. Now, the building design. The original architect's contract has a statement that says the building shall not exceed 5,000 square feet. The contract shall not exceed $200,000. In May of 2017, the program meeting that was taking place with the architect laid out a building of 10,091 square feet. The Animal Shelter Advisory Committee started to cut down on the building size. The process was extremely slow, since prioritization of the building features was and has been extremely tedious. October 2017, the building size was 7,185. In June of 2018, the building was down to 6,619. In September of 2018, the building size was 7,426. Seems the architect forgot that there was a storage area in the attic. November of 2018, the building size was 7,426, and the committee came back and said, it's still too big. The Animal Shelter Advisory Committee had taken the design to this point. They started looking for construction costs. The committee had the cost proofed by an independent construction appraiser. The cost for that project came out to approximately $5.2 million. The Animal Shelter Advisory Committee met with one of the site's opposing abutters. They attempted to mitigate the major opposing issues. The wholesale moving of the building was not one of the items on the list. Since the current location was chosen long before the abutters bought their lot, built their house, the current location was chosen because of its ability to shield the major impacts to the Quarry Hills Golf Course, usage of the town's access road, location of the necessary utilities, the location of ledge and quarry holes within that particular property, and the wetland locations. The Animal Shelter Advisory Committee worked with the site engineer and the architect to turn the building slightly, depress the building in height. The engineer designed a 4-foot planting berm across the back of the site, alternating placement of 12 to 14-foot Norway spruce trees on the berm to shield the neighbors with a vegetated buffer. The Animal Shelter Advisory Committee moved the outside pens from the rear of the building to the sides. They took the generator that was on the side of the building, put it in front of the building. They moved the dumpster from the front to the access road. In the spring of 2019, the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee has since met several times without the architect and decided to severely cut back on the size and the many design features of the building. Pre-op and operating room, garage, men and women's staff lockers and showers, large meeting room, separate Milton Animal League office, and an animal control officer office, and extra space areas were all on the cutting block. The committee has submitted a revised program to the architect and has pared the building down to 5,105 square feet. The goal of downsizing was to design a building that can be constructed for 2.5 to 2.8 million and start construction in 2019. The next step is for the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee to give the architect his direction with his estimated timelines. Schematic design, 4 to 6 weeks, what the building will look like. Design development, 5 to 7 weeks. That's the engineering requirements that are necessary built into that design. And then construction documents, 12 to 16 weeks. That's what goes out to bid.
Thank you,
That's
Bill.
where we are.
Yeah,
The architect says he thinks he can do it. The animal shelter says that they understand what that number is. They have 1.8 for the building right now, and they understand that the building should not go above the 2.8. We are working with town council to try to find a way to have the Animal League build the building for the town and see if we can get savings in that process.
thank you, Bill. Questions, comments from the members?
Bill, the square
Mr.
footage,
Tarrington.
it's been reduced to 5,100 square feet from how much again? How big was it initially?
It was 5 in 2014.
It was
The last
5,000
one-
square feet?
5,000 at the beginning in 2014, it was a 5, right? Am I right? 5,000.
5,000.
And then it
was the
jumped to
orig-
10 by 16, after the architect, am I correct? After
In
the architect was
In
hired.
September, November of 2018, the building size was 7,426,
Okay, so 7,400 square feet to now roughly 5,100.
5,100.
Okay.
Let's
Any
get it
other
done.
questions, comments?
Let's get it done. And just to point, this project is costing $0 in taxpayer money, not $1.
It hasn't cost the taxpayer any money with the architect to this point. All of the money for the architectural services has been paid by the Milton Animal League. That's in the agreement they have with this board.
When does it make sense to get another update on this bill, do you think, given the timeline? When do you think we should get another update, just to keep on this?
I would say 8 weeks.
8 weeks?
It's going to
Okay.
take 4 to 6 to see what the building looks like. I can send you that. I don't need to come here to do that. I can send you that, what the building will look like. At that point, it goes to the engineers, and the engineers take and put their design needs into the design. So I'm saying 8 weeks. The architect says it will take 5 to 7 weeks to get the engineered design.
So maybe come in, touch base mid to late August? Okay, great. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
All right, moving back to item 14. This is a transfer fund request from the Board of Health.
I'll make a motion to approve and forward to the Warrant Committee the following year-end transfer request. A request from the Board of Health in the amount of $10,000 from its salary and wage line to the general expense line.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Item 15, designating the chair to approve reserve fund and year-end transfers.
I move to authorize Chair Zulus on behalf of the Select Board to approve any reserve fund transfer requests and end-of-year transfer requests that are submitted after the date of this meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Item 16, Milton Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition donations acceptance.
I'll move that we accept 2 donations, one to the Milton Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition from Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, Milton, in the amount of $4,000 for the William James College Interface Referral Service for Milton residents, and a donation from Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, Milton, in the amount of $3,000 that paid for the Big Disconnect presentation on April 11th, 2019 at Milton High School.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Just thank you very much to the hospital for their generous donations.
Yes.
Absolutely. We all agree with that. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Item 17, review and approval of minutes from November 14th, 2018, November 28th, 2018, 2018, and May 29th, 2019. And I believe we have amendments to these minutes that we've received. So that would be, I think those are the minutes that we'll be considering. Is that right?
So we'll take that as a friendly amendment. We'll amend that to say the,
Yeah, I think we can just take, we should take each of the minutes separately, and then we can just say as amended in the motion. Where's my motion guy?
oh, yeah, sorry, I apologize. I'll make a motion to vote to approve the minutes for November 14th, 2018,
As amended.
as amended.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for November 28th, 2018, as amended.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a
Unanimous.
motion to approve the May 29th, 2019 minutes as amended.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Item 18, taxi license for Milton Cab, Inc., Shore Transit.
I'll make a motion to approve the renewal of a taxi cab license for 2019 for Abdelatif Nana Milton Cab, Inc., Shore Transit of 8 Des Moines Road in Quincy.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and I believe we have all the appropriate approvals on this.
Correct.
From the police department, and all the requirements have been met. So, any further discussion? Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Item 19, approval of one-day liquor licenses for the Milton Club and, or is it just Craft and Crew?
It looks like it's Milton Club and for...
Yes, Milton Club, yes.
So I'll
I'm
make a
sorry.
motion to approve the Milton Club at 193 Central Ave for Saturday, June 29, 2019, and for Craft and Crew, 25 Central Ave for their Sunday supper series with the Plate Restaurant
Second.
at 27 Central Avenue for Sunday, June 23, 2019, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Motion's been made and seconded. I see Ms. Lombardi in the audience. Do you want to come up and say anything, or do you want to just
You
to
just want
vote?
approval.
Do you want to just come to the mic just for a
Yeah,
minute?
I mean, it's really Craft and Crew that I think filed the application, so.
Yep.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but,
You can support it.
yeah, no, definitely in support. It's an exciting new series that we're doing in the summer when we all love to be sitting outside enjoying good food and wine. And, it's nice to be neighbors with them and to do a collaboration like this is a first time. So we've got an exciting new chef working with us too, and it gives her an opportunity to sort of showcase her talent. So we're excited about it.
That's great.
And we still have tickets for sale, so.
All right. And this doesn't violate any bylaws or the alcohol on the
No, I
sidewalk?
already looked at, no,
Yep.
Christine submitted that to us.
Right,
That's,
Great. Great.
Excellent.
And this is going to be a table set up on the outside, on the
Yes.
brickwork outside the two stores.
Yeah.
you have,
Okay.
the table's already there, right? These are the same, like, the
Yeah,
same
same
area?
tables,
same
but
time?
they'll be dressed up, put together. It's a communal-style family dinner for, we have 14 tickets for sale.
Great. All right, thank you for appearing, thank you for supporting,
Sure.
thank you for telling us what's happening down there, and I'm sure we'll be down there. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
thanks.
All right,
very
thank
much.
you.
Good luck.
Thank you for coming.
Best scrambled eggs in town.
Mr. Farrington?
Mr. Dennehy or Executive Secretary McCullough, do you have a running tally on the 1 days for the Milton Club? That puts us at like 25?
25, that was number 25.
25 of 30, correct.
Thank you.
All right, item 20, Town Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Very quickly, as we approach July 1st, there is still some questions out there that I would like to clear the air. The town is going to revert back to the 5-day collection for trash, recycling, and yard waste when applicable. Those of you new to town, this was normal operations prior to July 1st of 2014, when Sunrise Scavenger took over for waste management and the town went to a 2-day collection. So if you're like me and you were in the town and you forget what day it was, you can call Town Hall, 617-898-4900, or go on to the townofmilton.org/trash day, one word, to find out your day. The idea is we didn't solicit enough bids to go back to the two-day collection. In that industry, we were fortunate that Sunrise Scavenger had the capacity on those 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday previously. They do not have the capacity. Instead, are looking for a full work week. Obviously, it'll be lighter each day. They're looking at 2 trash trucks and 2 recycling trucks each day to get through the town. Obviously, on yard waste weeks, they'll be adding trucks to collect that third stream. But, yeah, so effective July 1st, which is the Monday, the town will be reverting back to its 5-day collection schedule. The trash barrels, for those who did not opt out, will start appearing on people's doorsteps, walkways, a week from today, July 19th. And again, if you have any questions, call the DPW or the Select Board's office, and we can answer pretty much any question about what's changing. We understand that there will be a learning curve for those who have been in town for quite some time that may forget, be out of town that week, and we will manage expectations accordingly. In working through something like this, similar in Boston 5 years ago, people usually come back from Labor Day and it's an accepted practice, and the contractor is aware of that. We would appreciate compliance from people, that they put it out on their newly reverted scheduled day. Any questions or comments or?
Well, you meant June 19th, right?
June 19th, the carts will start appearing on people's doorsteps, 1 week from tonight, sorry.
Well, no, and I just wanted to say thank you very much as part of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. I know the heroic lengths that you and Hillary Waite and Chase Berkeley and probably other people on staff went to. The industry just doesn't have well, they have the ability to call a lot of the shots at this point, and also there's just not capacity for recycling, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. You're working with a really tough market right now.
Well, I thank you. Hillary Waite, our environmental coordinator, and Chase Berkeley, our DPW director, have done most of the heavy lifting. We did negotiate with several haulers to see if they could accommodate the 2-day collection because it's become so convenient for people in town. There will be more delays when you have holidays in effect, i.e. that Thursday of the first week is July 4th, so we won't be collecting trash on that Thursday. So if your trash day is Thursday, we'll pick you up on Friday, and the Friday trash will be picked up on Saturday. So we have to go back, unfortunately, to that delayed schedule because we are a 5-day collection period. But all that stuff is posted on the website. The flyers are in production now that we've confirmed the hauling aspect of it, and those should be mailed out as quickly as we get them. Just 3 other small items. The reserve fund transfer you saw for the health department was due to the vacancy that was just filled by Laura Del Chalet, who I'd like to welcome to the town. She's our new health agent. But in the period between Erin Egan's departure and Laura's arrival in town, that's where the $10,000 savings in salary came from. That will be used for vaccines and other stuff, the good, healthy choices that the Caroline Kinsella and her team make. I would be remiss if I didn't thank John Driscoll. It is a Wednesday in the spring, and the concert is going on at Town Hall. John Driscoll and the work that his crews do at Town Hall to make it look so nice and at the library does not go unnoticed. And I think John's not the type of person that likes to be publicly appreciated, but if you look out at Town Hall today or any other day in the library for that matter, that's a direct result of the time and effort that John Driscoll and his crews put in for our town. So I'd like to publicly thank John. He's probably going to be mad at me.
He's probably one of the people who are at home watching right now.
Okay, well, don't be mad at me, John, but this is long overdue. We can't thank you enough. You make our town look very beautiful, especially some of the public buildings in and around the town center. And lastly, I would just like to read and appreciate all of the work done by the Milton Fire Department, but we received an email from Douglas Rodman, who's a resident at 125 Robin Street, and if you'll allow me to read this, I will be as quick as I can. The email came into Chief Grant on May 30th. It says, "My name is Douglas Rodman, and I live with my wife and 5-year-old son at 125 Robin Street. I've been a resident of this wonderful town for the last 10 years. Unfortunately, I had some health issues that have resulted in your department responding to our residents for medical emergencies. On Saturday evening, May 18th, around 10:30 p.m., Lieutenant Jeff Murphy and his crew came to the house on a 911 call from my wife. Your department showed up first and were immediately directed to the den where I was in despair. Lieutenant Murphy, being somewhat knowledgeable of my medical conditions, took control of the situation, stabilized me in the house, and then made the important decision to let me go to Faulkner Hospital. I later transferred to the Brigham and Women with a new heart condition. I spent 6 days in the hospital and have open heart surgery scheduled for June 10th, yesterday. 2 days ago, sorry. I was truly hoping to speak with you in person, but realized our schedules might make this impossible. Chief, Lieutenant Murphy saved my life. He should be acknowledged for the town to see citation Fireman of the Year, ? Something, ? I did make a contribution to the union, but that doesn't begin to scratch the surface. Maybe we could have some conversation, because this gentleman is a hero. Thank you for your time and your amazing department. We are fans for life. Have a pleasant day. Douglas Rodman, 125 Robin Street." So I think that's very noteworthy in this day and age of...
Congrats to Lieutenant Murphy, he's a good man.
Right. So, and I did reach out to Lieutenant Murphy, and in true Lieutenant Murphy fashion, he said there were 7 of us there that night, and all of us helped out. If it wasn't for all 7 of us, it wouldn't happen. So, humble man, but just want to notice the work that
Absolutely.
done by that crew. So,
Yeah, absolutely deserves all the...
Thank the
all
chief for that.
plaudits and credit.
that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mike. Item 21, the report of the chair. I have 3 items, and I will move through as quickly as possible. First is a report of the meeting that town officials had with representatives of Massport and the Massport Community Advisory Committee. There is a new executive director of the Massport Community Advisory Committee. We met with him. We met with the we met with the chair of the Massport Community Advisory Committee. We met with 2 representatives of Massport, and those who were representing the town in this meeting were Mr. Dennehy, Ms. Conlon, myself, Mike Andrusino of our Airplay Noise Advisory Committee, and
Tom?
Tom Doherty.
Tom Doherty, our new, thank you, Tom Doherty, our new Community Advisory Committee representative. It was, I think it's fair to say, a frank discussion, but I think it was a very productive discussion. The desire stated by the CIC chair was to reset the relationship, and from their perspective, they said the relationship had been reset substantively. The next step is, in our discussions, is for the town to reiterate some of the requests that it has made over the years in one filing to be, or one submission to be made to Massport and the CAC with respect to the MIT study, and to lay out those things that we've requested before, but to put it all in one request, and we were assured that that would be presented to and considered by those conducting the MIT study, including Mr. Hansman. And so we are now in the process of putting together, that's working with the ANAC, working with our ANAC, the Airplane Noise Advisory Committee, working with our CAC rep to put together that submission. And I fully expect that we will be able, our committee, our board rather, will be able to vote on it on June 26th. The desire is to get it in before the end of this month so it can be considered as MIT continues its work and on its recommendations. So I think it, as I said, I think it was a productive discussion, and we'll see where we go from here. Ms. Conlon, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Moving on, along the lines of plaudits for the fire department, last week, I believe it was, we had a 2-alarm fire
Hillcrest.
down on Hillcrest. We had Group 4 from Central responded to the second alarm. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. They had heavy fire venting out 3 windows, and from our reports and from the reports of the chief, it was an incredible job done by the Milton Fire Department to save lives and to save property. There were no fatalities, there were no injuries, and the building was not destroyed because of the fine work of the Milton Fire Department and Group 4 in particular, and because of the fact that we have, I think it's fair to say, we have 3 stations, and we have the opportunity to respond. And I think that confirms what our fire building study committee and our fire building committee has told us with respect to the need for those kinds of response times. Because if we didn't have those response times, we may have lost, we may have had lives endangered and lost a building. So. All the credit in the world to the fire department. We owe them more than we can say this evening. But I know Chief Grant is more than proud of the people who work in the fire department, and we are as well. So anyway. That's item 2. Item 3, there has been some discussion among various groups, including the Master Plan Implementation Committee, including the Youth Task Force, including the Fire Station Building Committee, of having a joint meeting to discuss what is going to happen to the town center. And it seems to me that it's those groups have an interest here. Master Plan Implementation Committee, obviously, because they have ideas about what could happen in town center. Fire Station Building Committee, because we have the central station here, and we'll likely have a new central station here. Youth Task Force, because we have a new Youth Task Force site over, starting hopefully in September, over at the Congregational Church.
This way.
This way.
way.
Completely turned around.
This way.
Thank you.
The people of First Parish just
That's
I just
right.
call
That's
them,
right.
what?
That's right. We'd certainly want to, it certainly makes sense to include the Council on Aging, because they're here as well, the churches, and most important, well, yeah, I'd fair to say most importantly, the neighborhood. So, there has been some thought about having a public meeting in which we bring all the groups together to discuss the future of this town center. I think it makes sense, but be interested to hear what others may think about that.
Let's do it.
All right, Ms. Collins says, let's do it.
I'm good with it. So I will say the Castle Booze, who's the architect last night, presented, I think, 4 just possible potentials, just preliminary, on just the headquarters site. And the good news is that I think all but one didn't impact the green at all, or the actually improved parking a little bit, but they're gonna come and meet with you and Bill Ritchie, I think, on the
Next Thursday at 4
next
o'clock.
Thursday, yeah, just to kind of, so I was encouraged by that, but look, I think we can only make it better. It's pretty and serene right now, but maybe we can do something, so I'm fine with that.
All right, so we
So
will.
we're gonna have a neighborhood meeting of all the neighbors.
Well, that's right. Neighborhood meeting with all the neighbors and all the potential stakeholders who want to try to improve things. All right. One thing not on the agenda, but was not reasonably anticipated because it only happened Monday night. On Monday night at the Forbes House Museum, there was an event that included, and it was to celebrate the Lanshan China Celadon ceramic exhibit at the Forbes Museum. This is an exhibit that this is the second place in North America that this Chinese ceramics have been exhibited. First place was at the United Nations last year, and now it's at the Forbes House Museum. And in order to celebrate that and to celebrate the 40th anniversary of U.S.-China diplomatic relations, and to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Dragon Boat races in Boston, representatives of Lanqin, China, the Consul General for the People's Republic of China from New York, along with, as I said, several representatives of Lanqin, the city in China, and Ms. Collins, and I went as well, and the Forbes House Museum Executive Director Heidi Vaughn, Chair of the Trustees Jeff Bernier. It was a wonderful event. It was very highly, I think, viewed by our friends from China. They had a lot of media there, and it was just a wonderful event. And so if you have the opportunity to get to the Forbes House Museum between now and the 14th, which is, I think, Friday, you need to do it, because it's something that we don't have the opportunity to see in our town that often, and it's really stunning. So, Ms. Collins.
I think it's open from 9 to 4 every day, is that correct?
I don't know.
believe it.
I
believe
saw
it is,
extended
yes.
hours tomorrow night.
Oh,
Thursday night, there was
tomorrow
extended,
night.
I think, until
Okay.
7.
Okay.
And I'd like to add that I thought our chair did very well, speaking a little bit of Mandarin and and giving some nice remarks on behalf of the board.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Do you want to repeat what you said? For all of us?
I don't think so, and I'm hoping there's no video. Finally, not on the agenda, but in the manner of just publicizing an event, tomorrow night the Traffic Mitigation Committee is holding a public meeting at the Milton Public Library in the Keys Room downstairs at 7 o'clock.
gonna be
Oh,
here.
it's here. Oh,
Here,
I'm
yep.
sorry. Oh, all right. Stop that. Reverse it. It's going to be at the Council on Aging, 7 o'clock. Tomorrow night, tomorrow night, June 13th. See, I need that 5-hour energy, Richard.
Take it.
And if you, whether or not you made it to our first public meeting, it's a great opportunity for the residents to get up and talk about their concerns, both in safety and congestion. We're able to do some things, and we're taking all the information, we're taking all the data, and we're going to try to do some small things, and we're going to see if there's an opportunity to do big things. So if you have something to say, come say it tomorrow night about traffic. So that's all I have. And I think I don't see it here, but I thought we had one of the members to say something.
Yeah,
Katie.
But do the vice chair and the secretary want to go
Oh,
ahead?
well, I
and-
didn't know if we were going to go around, just because I didn't hear anything from anyone else, but let's go
Oh,
around. Let's
sorry.
do that.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, Ms. Collins. Mr. Farrington.
Are we on community happenings, Mr. Chair?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We're not. So, Mr. Wells.
No, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Redden, is he Dr. Redden, right? And everyone at Cunningham School on Community Reads, for everyone
Oh.
who participated. It's a great event every year. They do some yeoman's work and bring out as many people as they can to read. I don't want to say how many years I've been doing it for, but it's been a long time, so congrats to them on that as well.
Great. Ms. Conlon.
So I just asked the chair just to add a placeholder for a report on the Massachusetts Municipal Association's board meeting yesterday, in case there were any updates. And just briefly, the state budget is still, the FY20 budget is still being worked on, but for the current year, one thing that they did report is that, I'm sure everyone's read in the papers that the state tax collections are well ahead of budget. But they did tell us that most of it is one-time monies and revenue, mainly from corporate reappropriation. So it's not something that could be used for ongoing budget purposes. And a lot of it will probably go into the state rainy day fund, but there was talk about a supplemental Chapter 90 bill possibly for this current fiscal year along the lines of what was done in 2018. Nothing definite on that yet, but the Lieutenant Governor and Secretary Heffernan did speak to that at the Local Government Advisory Committee meeting. So we had a lot of discussion around education, finance, and communities that are impacted by charter schools really have a lot of additional issues that we don't have to face. But, so I think that's the main point I wanted to just mention, was that there is some possibility of some one-time supplemental funding in the current year, probably roads, but there could also be some water improvement monies coming in, and hopefully we'll hear more on that by sometime in July.
Thank you, Katie, that's great. All right, next, item 24, citizen speak response. We didn't have any citizen speak, so we won't have any of that. Item 25, future agenda items. Speak now or forever, or hold your peace until
Going to
next
community
meeting?
happenings, I just want to give
Yeah,
just one more
let's go
shout.
right on
Next-
to community happenings.
Next weekend is Milton Music Festival, 22nd and 23rd. It's one of the larger events that we have in town every year. It's a free event, and actually gave posters to Jen tonight. So it's on the website, there'll be a couple signboards going up the next couple days. And come, it's a great time, great music, great time for families.
Great. Anyone else? Tony, community happenings?
Community happenings, yes, I just wanted to extend an additional congratulations to Troop 3's newest Eagle Scouts, James DeSandro of Craig Hill Lane and Jackson Humphreys of Hoyt Terrace. One of their fellow scouts is here tonight, earning one of his merit badges, but James and Jackson earned the status, the designation of Eagle Scout on Sunday in a lovely ceremony, so I wanted to congratulate them again.
Great. Excellent.
And
Anyone
can we
else?
welcome William, is it Petrick? William Petrick, who's a candidate for Eagle Scout, who's here this evening, observing our meeting as part of working towards a government badge on the way toward becoming an Eagle Scout. So it's a great tradition here in Milton. We have fortunate to have so many Eagle Scouts coming out of that Troop 3 and the other troops.
It's a strong troop, and we'll see you there next year. All right, good work.
Great. Anything else? Community happenings? Moving on, we are going to go into executive session. So I will make a motion to enter into executive session with town council to discuss strategy with respect to real property, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of